message will come out that'll make some sense to you. But I also want to say thank you all for being here, and David and I are back, and you're going to have to put up with us every week. So, all right, to start with, originally, now I was here 3 years ago and spoke, and some of you maybe remember, some of you maybe weren't here, I don't know. But I do know that we did, what I started out with last time was the energy ball. And I don't know if any of you remember. I know Jules said she remembers that. And it's a little ball, and we made a circle, a few of us, and we held hands. And that energy ball proved that we were connected to one another because we held hands, and when we, say Danny and I, we were holding hands, we drop hands, and the energy ball would stop. We cut the energy circuit that we were actually sending around to each of us. So it was a proving that we are connected. We definitely are connected. And if I had that energy ball with me, I didn't have any this time. Actually, my daughter Pam, who helped last time, she's way out in the country because of the weather, wasn't able to come. So she's got the energy balls. Otherwise, I'd have done a little reminder there. Okay. Recently, you can't read it from where you are, but I had this little business card made up. Many years ago, like 20 years ago, out on Highway 23, I actually had a sign put up, a billboard. I rented it. And it says, "We are so busy acquiring things of the world, we've forgotten how to live." And there's a little dove on there, and out of the beak comes the word love, peace. The interesting thing about this card, well, on the back of it, I put, change your thinking, change your world. But I had the billboard man come to the house that time, and we talked for a solid hour, if not longer. And Sue, I know, knows me. I just share everything. I talk about everything. I'm a deep thinker, and I love to learn. So that man, for over an hour, he and I talked, and we really got in depth. We talked about life. We talked about religion. You name it, we talked about it. And he was very much into his church as far as that goes, but I told him my view also. What I'm getting at is, after I said to him, I want to rent 2 months, putting this little message up there, change your, we're so busy. And I said to him, maybe you would consider putting something up there that maybe would be something other than the normal billboard signs. It's always buying, buying. And so for 2 months, I paid for the 2 months. That billboard stayed up there for an additional 3 months, and I did not have to pay for it. So communication, talk to people, share. Don't be afraid of other people. Learn what they are about. We are all one. Why not connect as one, as God would have you do? So I had to share that. Then I want to do a couple quotes. There, you've heard it before, we've got about 60,000 thoughts a day, which are the same ones we had yesterday and the day before and the day before. It changes slightly. So 2 quotes. Albert Einstein: "We will never change our world at a level of thinking that created the old one." Change your thinking, change your world. Change those 60,000 thoughts a day. And then Michelle Obama. I actually had my picture taken with her. She radiates love, I kid you not. But she says, "Sameness breeds more sameness until you make a thoughtful effort to counteract it." Again, change your thinking, change your world is her thinking also. And then I have something new, and maybe some of you are familiar with orbs. How many of you have heard of orbs? Good, 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 good. Well, we met Klaus Heinemann, and he, we got to know him, we sat with him, we talked with him. And he did science research for NASA, UCLA, Standard University, and he ties science and spiritual together. And for those of you who don't know about orbs, they are actually considered spirits that are all around us all the time. And through taking pictures, the new cameras that are out now, they're able to take pictures that actually show orbs, that they're all around us, and they're not specks of water or dust on the lens when you take it. So he's done lots and lots of research on that and actually has this book out. Now, if you want to look at it later, you're more than welcome. There's lots of pictures in here of orbs that you can't see it from where you are. But it's amazing. It's around us. It's all around us. These spirits are all around us. And so now science is coming together with religion or spirituality. They are now realizing, they are waking up, that we are a lot more than what we give ourselves credit for. Now, I do have a question for you. How many of you were babies when you were born? Raise your hand. Now, let's see.
I was hatched.
You Okay, what am I getting at? What I am getting at is, how many of you know Bruce Lipton? Bruce Lipton is a fantastic, he knows science inside and out, and he too is tying the genes, the cells that we have, the molecules and atoms, and he's tying that all together with the spiritual aspect of our lives. I mean, he's another one of these out there. He's a professor he's been a professor, he was at UW in Madison. I mean, he knows his stuff very, very well. And how he puts it is, when you are up to 7 years old, he says, what you are actually doing from when you are a baby and you're learning, this computer brain up here is being programmed. And you are like being hypnotized. And everything that people are saying to you, what you're seeing, your role models, that's going right into here. It goes right in there and it gets recorded. The same way it does with your computers. It's programmed. And so when we have a lot of things going on in our lives and we don't understand why we want to do this but we hold ourselves back, or why we feel guilt, it's because there are other voices going on in here. Someone saying, oh no, you shouldn't do that. But they are talking from how they were raised. They are talking to you according to how they were programmed from the day that they were babies and when they were born. And when you get into that aspect of it, it's totally, totally, totally amazing what we don't realize. So get out there and live your life. But it's not easy because you were, in the best way to understand it, you were hypnotized till you were 7, because think of a child, they're learning continuously. They're walking around. Babies, they take everything and stick it in their mouth because they're learning from that. That's how they learn. So they can only learn from being around you. And their minds are developing. They're continuously developing. And if you notice, when you get older, you just don't grab stuff so easily and grasp it so easily. So don't be so hard on yourself. You were made perfect. And somehow along the way, when these other voices start to creep in, and also if you go into history, how we originated and how our minds slowly started to develop. We've changed a lot over the years. What's going on out there right now took thousands of years to get to a 3 billion population. Since the 70s until now, we've more than doubled that. And you wonder why we get so stressed. And we wonder why we're moving so fast. The population has increased, therefore you're going to have more people around you affecting how you look at things, how you hear things. Take crime, for instance. Crime has actually gone down. And we're living in fear because we hear about the crime. But it's actually gone down. But it seems like it's gone up because of the population. If you take the percentage of that, it's not as great as it was. So this, again, change your thinking, change your mind. It's a matter of getting educated. It's a matter of just listening closely what's going on out in that world. You are all very beautiful souls. And always remember that baby the day you were born, because that's who you are. Just don't go out there and lay on the floor in the middle of a grocery store or something. You know, which maybe you've thought of doing. But unless ye are as children, ye shall not enter the kingdom of heaven. To have faith like a child means to view life like a child. Be open, be alive. You know, don't cut yourself off. Fear is what stops us. And remember that fear, again, was programmed. It's all been programmed in there. And that's what stops us. But that child in you wants to go forward. It wants to live. It wants to experience. It wants to smell things. It wants to taste things. It wants to touch things. And it's all there. It's all in you. And know that you are love. There's no two ways about it. I would bet my life on that. Okay, but somehow we got lost along the way. And I do believe that we are all children at heart. And I think that if you think of it, it's kind of like we've been trampled on with, all the programming and with other people's belief systems and how we get raised. And then that little child is down there and it's crying out. Now, I have a little story. I always love telling little stories. But some years ago, I went to a retreat, a women's retreat. And part of what we had to do, we went outside. We could not be close to anyone we knew at all. And we had to sit outside for like 10 to 15 minutes in silence, total silence. And we had to listen, just listen. It's amazing what you hear when you sit by yourself and truly listen. And then when we came back in, we had to write something that came through. Whatever came out of you, just write it down. So I'm going to read to you what came out of me. And I titled it, Remember. What have I done to my child hidden deep within my soul, crying out to be heard? Let me return to my connectedness with Mother Nature. What have I done to my child hidden deep within my soul? Asking, always asking, and me not listening to its deepest desire of wanting. Oh, so wanting me to remember. The feel of the wind through my hair, the feel of the sun on my face. Remember. The cool, refreshing rain and its feeling as it touched me. The feel of water as I would jump and splash or play in it. Remember. The feel of grass or the prickly feel of stones as I ran barefoot. The feel of mud as it squeezed through my toes. Remember. The beauty and fragrance of flowers, the sounds and sights of the animals and birds singing. Remember. Looking at the moon, stars, and planets in the dark of night, or laying in the tall grass. Remember. What have I done to my child? How did I forget her love for life? Remember. there is a force, how people develop other people's beliefs, and that I touched on, and it's, of course, from other people, and the way I read this one time, and it really, I thought, geez, this sounds like a good explanation. There's a force of nature that pushes the unborn child forward and out of its mother's womb. It knows nothing of the great outside world, and all it learns from the moment of birth is gained from its parents, teachers, environment, institutions, schools, churches, experiences. It's all learned. Some learnings are good, but it's the negative learnings that do the damage. Knowledge from these sources comes from conditioned minds and will enter a mind that will be conditioned by these factors. I call it the computer brain. It's programmed. And we run into trouble, we got to deprogram and reprogram because we had a lot of stuff stuck in there that doesn't always help us. So I have just a couple examples of something that gets stuck. It's like what could affect us from young on? And I happened to run across something from the 1950s. And it's what was given to young girls in the home economics class. Prepare yourself. Take 15 minutes to rest so you will be refreshed when he arrives. Touch up your makeup, put a ribbon in your hair, and be fresh looking. He has just been with a lot of work-weary people. Be a little gay and a little more interesting. His boring day may need a lift. Okay, ladies. The thing is, while the ladies are learning this, so do the guys learn that, right? And then this one. Make him comfortable. Have him lean back in a comfortable chair or suggest he lie down in the bedroom. Have a cool or warm drink ready for him. Arrange his pillow and offer to take off his shoes. Speak in a low, soft, soothing, and pleasant voice. Allow him to relax and unwind. Allow him to relax and unwind, but then another one is, you may have a dozen things to tell him, but the moment of his arrival is not the time. Let him talk first. Now, you wonder where problems come from. It is such things as this when it's taught to you in school in the 1950s. So we wonder a lot often about our parents. Why do we get so mad at our parents? Why was my mother like that? Why was my father like that? Well, this is a good example. If you were hypnotized basically as a child growing up, that's all locked in there. And then we don't understand where they're coming from, but they too lived lives where they too were programmed. And that's something we have to understand very, very clearly. We all come with stuff. So, living someone else's belief system is not good. So change your thinking, change your world. One thing when I was small, I loved Jesus. I would sit and read about him and I would cry when I would hear his pain. I would cry. And when I'd go to a movie and I'd see Jesus in it, I would go, oh. It was like, I want him, I want him. You know? Tabernacle, raised Catholic, when they'd get the host out and the priest would be up front and he'd go back and he'd open that little box. And I was there with my big eyes. Oh, I want to see Jesus. I was so into Jesus. I was so into Jesus that I read about him all my life. Every book I could find. Is he real? Isn't he real? What did he say? What didn't he say? I couldn't get enough. Actually, till about 10 years ago, and all of a sudden it was done. I could not get enough. So what I come away with is, I believe in his teachings. I believe it's important to be of service to people, to help people, to love people, to be kind to people. And I had to, what that was about from little on, all the way to about 10 years ago. But I certainly took it in. Dark night of soul, you've heard of that. Well, I went through a dark night of soul more than once. I was physically, emotionally, sexually abused growing up. I know what it is to be beaten. I know what it is to be put in a foster home. I know what it is to have abusive foster parents there too. I was married. I ran away and got married at the age of 17, forged my birth certificate. I had to get out of this, I didn't know who I was. The pain was so great. I was put down and put down and put down. This thing totally didn't know what was going on in this world. I did not know who I was. All the pain went inside. I didn't know what to do with it. I just stuffed it in. I wasn't able to talk to people because I didn't know who I was. I had everybody up here, I mean everybody, and I was way down here because I was a nobody. I was terrible. I wasn't smart. I wasn't good enough. I was used. I was abused. So if you've been programmed that way, what do you do with it? Well, what I found out is when the pain exceeds the reward, you will move. But it takes that pain. And what you do with that pain will make the difference for the rest of your life. Well, I didn't like that pain. To this day, I don't like that pain. Do you like pain? Anybody here like pain? Not me. So, at any rate, I lost me and I lost God over those years. What's it all about? At the same time, I would go to church off and on. At the same time, I still had my interest in Jesus. But at the same time, I was so busy trying to find myself that I didn't realize I still had that love and caring inside of me. So how did I change my life? Well, I had to face my fears. I had to get divorced. I was married 19 years and 4 daughters. I had to get divorced. Boy, that was hard. The fear was thick. How do I go out on my own? Because I didn't know how to live on my own. I thought I owed everything to everybody, and therefore I did for everybody. But I went out on my own. I faced my fears. I went and talked to a priest. I thought, what am I going to do? I don't have any money. So I went and talked to a priest. And up until that point, I had gone in so far, I didn't know how to talk to people. There's no way I would have been up here talking to you. I'd have been hiding maybe behind that little piano over there or something, It's like, oh my God. But I faced the fears. I went and talked to a priest. I think I talked for about 3 hours. When I finally started, it was unbelievable. I had not been able to cry for years. But once I started, it was like someone turned on the faucet. I had all those years to release. I went back to school. Am I smart enough? Do I have a brain? Is it going to work? Oh my God, I can't go back to school, finish high school. But I forced myself to do it, and I did really well. And by God, I went on to college. And did I love it? I loved every single minute of it, and I was capable, and I didn't think I had, that I would be, but I was. I went to growth classes, Woman Within, positive thinking. I went to Dale Carnegie. Dale Carnegie, you got to stand up in front of people. And these were all men who I really, men at that time. And but I did it. And I faced my fears. Again, change your thinking, change your world, be determined. I got so depressed, I had to go to counseling. I lost so much weight, I had to hold on to the railing in order to go walk down the steps. I was bad. I was bad. But I swore I would never, ever allow myself to get that low again. And then I went out into the world, and I made new friends. And this Sue Kittlin sitting right here, she was one of them. And we used to go walking. And once a week, we had a whole group of us. We called ourselves the walkie-talkies. Yeah, we used to go roller skating. We used to roller skate 10 miles. 10 miles. Oh, we've got stories we could tell you, but that's for another talk. And I went to inspirational speakers, Marianne Williamson, Deepak Chopra, Wayne Dyer, Christine Northrup. I mean, you name it. I went and I saw them and I met them in person. And then I met Ron Roth. Ron Roth was a Roman Catholic priest for 25 years. He left the priesthood and started a church of his own. And I started going to see him, and I started attending all of his conferences and everything. And one day something came through here, a little voice that was guiding me through all of these years. I know now for sure. But it said, Diane, you need to become an ordained minister. You need to go in deeper. And I listened to that voice. And I did all the classes and all the book reading and all the services and you name it that I had to do. I did not become a minister to have a church. I became a minister to go in deeper, to learn who I was, what life was about, and to learn about God. And oh my God, did I learn about God and love and caring and the importance of caring for others. I went to silent retreat at Monte Alverno. I was going to St. Peter Claver Church at that time. And so I'm on these silent retreats. And this one weekend, I mean, this is where you sit, you don't talk. The whole weekend you're there, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Even when you're eating, you don't talk. You're in total silence. It was wonderful. We'd be sitting in chapel, messages would be coming through. There were monks there. They would give maybe a 20-minute talk, and then you'd be on your own for a length of time. But in that silence, one day, in the little chapel, a message came through and said, Diane, quit your job. I have other things for you to do. Oh, quit my job. Are you kidding? You know, I worked real hard to get this far. But anyhow, I went home that day, and I was there with a friend, and I said to her, I said, I have to quit my job. That message, God's message said, quit your job. I've got other things for you to do. I listened. I went home. My hubby, David back there, was sitting in the backyard, and I walked up to him, and I said, David, I've got to quit my job. That's how strong that message was. And he said, okay. 3 weeks later, I was out of that job. Holy cow, what am I going to do now? Here I'm out of a job, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. All right. Boy, did God start talking to me. First, my mother came into our house. She was dying of cancer. We brought her in. Brought in the hospital bed. And here I got a story to tell you again. She lost so much weight, I could pick her up and carry her. And, we went through the whole thing. Now, she had been kind of sort of an enemy of mine growing up, but we bonded during that time. I would carry her. She had a sense of humor like you can't imagine. When I get real goofy now, I always say, thank you, Mom, because she had such a sense of humor. She loved to dance and sing and dance on the bar. And, I've done that too, let me tell you. In fact, at one point, I actually was a motorcycle mama for a little while. Woohoo! I've got stories, let me tell you. At any rate, so now my mother is dying of cancer, right? And we know it's not going to be long now. And so I said to David, I said, we weren't members of a church at that time, and when we would go, it was a Catholic church. And I said, we really should contact the priest there and have him come for my mom. And he said, yeah, So we did. We called church, and I called him Father George. And he was a big guy. Oof, he was tall and big. When he spoke, the walls would move. But so I thought, okay, now so we called. He said, come. Now, you have to envision this. He comes into the room. My mother's in the bed, and she's laying there, because she knows she's dying. And he leans over her. Come on, get up, get out of bed. Let's go to the corner and have a couple. Honest to God, that's what the priest said. Come on, get up, get out of bed. Let's go to the corner and have a couple. When he said it, David and I looked at each other. And you know what my mother did? Yeah, she's there though. If she could have gotten out of bed, honest to God, she'd have gone, because she was a party person. Now, I don't know if this priest does that with everybody or not, but I just had to share that. I thought that was, But, okay, I ended up going to Brazil, taking people there for 11 years. I saw you somewhere. She's been there. Char, who used to be a member here, she went. Barry went. He came without his cane. When he came back, he left his cane. And I actually got to dance with him there. And it was, he hadn't danced in a long time. And then I said, well, does Dorothy dance, his wife? And he said, yes. I said, she should be here dancing with you. She was there, but I was the one that was dancing when I asked him to dance. And so she got up, came and danced with me, and it was the first time they had danced together in 20 years. So I got to do that. I went to India, up into the Himalayan mountains, mind you, on horseback. And I got to go to the 5,000-year-old temples and do the rituals, and I learned about spiritual things there. I also went in India to the Oneness University, and I sat in the classrooms, and we did meditations, and I learned so many things there. I had a tooth removed, or not removed, but I had a toothache when I was there, and I thought, oh my God, India, toothache. Oh. So at any rate, I did say at the school, the university that I went to there in India, the man there arranged a cab for me to go into the city to have this tooth looked at, and that was like a 3-hour drive. And so I thanked him. I was so happy that he arranged it. I said, now I know it's not your tradition to hug. I said, but if you did, I would give you a hug. And I went like this. And he said, it's true, we don't. We hug family, da-da-da. Okay. So now I go into town. I'm at the dentist's office. And so he gives me some pain pills, and, he took an x-ray and everything, and I didn't have it pulled out there, but he did enough that I was able to live with it. And I said to him the same thing, because I was so glad I knew the pain wouldn't be there. And I said, if it was your tradition, I said, I would hug you. He got up, came over by me, and gave me a hug. I thought, what? Because So then he puts his arm around my shoulder and says, come with me, and he takes me into the office. And there on the bulletin board were 2 big articles on the importance of hugging. So in India, they were learning the importance of hugging, is what I learned there. So I learned a lot about India and how they live. I went to Costa Rica. I went to the United Nations University of Peace, and I got to tour that. And then Rita Marie Johnson was the founder of Be Peace. That's one word, Be Peace. And she got that Be Peace program implemented into the school system in Costa Rica. All the kids are learning the importance of words and how you use them and how important it is and the energies behind the words. She's spent her entire life working on that. She is attempting to bring that into the United States. So I got to go there and witness all of that and go to the schools and everything. She actually came to our home and stayed with us. And she went to Brazil with us also. So there are people out there doing wondrous, wonderful things. And so I was so blessed to be able to do all of these things. And I mean, I could keep you here forever. I could, once I get started, ask David, it's hard to shut me down. But another thing I never thought I would do, in the morning, quit your job, everything's for you to do. I'd wake up in the morning and again, listen to those thoughts. I wrote it down as fast as I could. These thoughts would come. And it was like, what is this? When David and I would be driving and go someplace, I had paper and pencil. I had to have it there because the thoughts would come, and I'd have to write it down. Well, this one particular morning, I had to write something down so fast. I could hardly, do it fast enough. And I gave it to my daughter, who was into the computers. I wasn't then at that time, and asked her to just type it up. And a couple weeks later, she called me, and she said, Mom, my minister at St. Paul's Church is looking for a woman to give the sermon this coming Sunday. I said, well, what do I know about giving sermon? I wasn't a minister yet then even. That was still early on. And she said, well, what about what you had me put in the computer? I said, well, give him a copy and see. I gave the 2 sermons that Sunday that he was looking for a woman on that paper that I had written down so fast. Listen when those messages come. Stop being so busy. We are so busy acquiring things of the world that we've forgotten how to live. That was a message from God. Because he had said to me with the walkie-talkies, I said to the walkie-talkies, I said, what do you think if we rented a billboard and put up a positive sign? Would you like to put some money in the pot? Well, nothing happened. A couple weeks later, whatever, I said it again. Nothing happened. That message came through a 3rd time to me, and it said, put up a billboard. And I actually have a newspaper at home with a picture of it. I actually ended up in the newspaper with that. But the other things, when I wrote it all down, it was like I had this burning desire to share. I thought, how am I going to do that? So again, all these messages came through, and it said, this cannot be ordinary, and it was, you need to teach this. Okay? So after I had it all together, I was talking to this one woman. I said, okay, I've got all of this, and I want to be able to teach it. And she said, well, why don't you approach the UWS, University of Wisconsin, Sheboygan? Well, okay. So I did. And the man said, well, we have to send this into Madison. And I thought, okay. They sent it in, and they said, okay. And I taught Happiness Comes From Within every semester for a number of years, all on what came through in the morning. I would pick up a magazine, and an article would appear. I'd have a book fall off the shelf or something along those lines if I was at the bookstore or wherever. Things talked to me, but I was listening because I had been to hell. I had lived in hell, and no way was I going to go back to hell again. And when all of this started, I listened, and this is what came out of all of that. I ended up teaching that class at Meriter Hospital in Madison for a number of times. I ended up teaching that to a group of women called at an ARC program. There were women coming out of jail, where they'd go to be in jail and come out every day and go back. I ended up with my daughter Pam, who lives right outside of Sheboygan here, and we taught people coming from Milwaukee, people coming out of prison, the abusers. I had been abused. Here I had a chance to work with people that were abusers. It was wonderful. In fact, we've been doing it the last 4 years now. This is only, I could keep you forever, but this is what came out of the hell that I lived. There is no such thing as a negative. A negative is only a positive not yet learned. There is no such thing as a negative. It's only a positive not yet learned. When the pain exceeds the reward, learn from it and move forward. Listen to that little voice when it talks to you, because it's talking to you all the time. The orbs, they're in this room right now. The spirits are here, they're listening to you. They know. Bruce Lipton, he will take you from the cells of your body, the molecules and atoms, and he'll take you all the way to the spiritual world and prove to you how we are truly spirits, how we are truly extensions of God. Listen to your heart. Change your thinking, change your world. I better shut my mouth now. I'll have you all after me. Now, if you noticed, we switched this around. I didn't do the meditation first. I don't know if you noticed that or not, but I snuck it. So, we are students in the classroom of life, by the way. And we do go in and out of stuff. But before I get to the meditation, there's one last thing I want to, a very inspirational person in my life. And David does not know I was even going to say this, but David's mother, Stella. She died when she was 100 years old. She always regretted not going to college, although I still think she was the smartest woman walking the face of the earth because she read everything. She taught herself. She believed in God like you can't believe. She would listen to church whenever she could, at least once a day. And she was Catholic, so she would listen to her mass, churches, programs that were on TV. The interesting part about her is, as I said, she lived to be 100. The last 10 years of her life, she lived with one amputated leg. She lived in the house all by herself. She did her own laundry. She did her own bookkeeping. She'd write notes to people who needed help. She was very caring. She was very loving. She had a beautiful soul like you can't believe. And one of the things I totally admired about her was she would laugh at herself. She called herself Stumpy. And she used to make fun. She used to draw or have people draw on the stump of her knee. She made fun of it. She didn't go, poor me. She didn't go, oh my God, look at me. No. And you know what? She had a sense of humor like you can't believe, and she learned to laugh at life. She had a sense of humor like you can't believe. I could tell you some stories there too. So just know that it's change your thinking, change your world. You are in control of that. Know that whatever you learned as from a baby on can be changed. Be determined to change it. You can. So, there you have it. Okay, for the meditation.